Captain Tae Min stood on the bridge of his small ship and watched the stars disappear one by one. The Soul's Pride was not a big vessel, but it was fast and quiet, perfect for scouting missions in the empty spaces between solar systems. He had been out here for 3 weeks looking for anything unusual. The Galactic Council had sent reports about strange energy readings in this sector, but so far he had found nothing. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. Tae Min walked over to check the readings. His eyes went wide as he saw the numbers. Something massive was moving out there in the dark, something that made his instruments go crazy with fear. The energy signature was bigger than anything he had ever seen. It was like looking at a small star, but this star was alive, and it was moving toward the populated systems. Far away in the center of the galaxy, the Altarian Empire received the same readings Emperor Vexmar called his greatest generals to the Golden Throne Room. The Altarians had ruled space for 5,000 years. Their ships could destroy planets with a single shot. Their warriors had never known defeat. The Emperor looked at the data and laughed. "How big can one creature be?" he asked his generals. "Even if it is the size of a moon, our star destroyers will turn it to dust." General Cole Wynn nodded his blue head. "The creature appears to be in the void sector, where nothing lives. It has been sleeping there for who knows how long, but now it moves toward the outer rim worlds. Our fleets can reach it in 2 days. Send the Third Fleet," the Emperor commanded. "Let them have some target practice." The Third Fleet was the pride of the Altarian military. 100 ships, each one capable of cracking a planet. In half, Admiral Renkar led the fleet personally. He was a veteran of 1,000 battles. The ships jumped through hyperspace toward the unknown threat. Their weapons were charged and ready, but when they arrived at the void sector, they found something that made even veteran warriors freeze in terror. The creature was not the size of a moon. It was not even the size of a planet. It stretched across space like a living mountain range. Its skin was black as the void between stars, but covered in what looked like metal and machinery, organic flesh mixed with ancient technology in ways that should not be possible. The thing had tentacles that reached out for millions of miles. Each tentacle was thicker than the largest Altarian battleship and covered in mouths full of teeth that could crush starships. The creature's main body pulsed with a sick green light that made the space around it twist and bend. It was not just alive, it was hungry. Admiral Renkar tried to contact his home world, but the creature moved faster than thought. One moment the fleet was preparing to attack. The next moment, tentacles wrapped around their ships like ribbons. The hulls of the great battleships crumpled like paper. The creature did not just destroy the ships, it absorbed them. The metal and technology became part of its body. The crew members screamed as they were pulled into the creature's flesh and became part of its ever-growing consciousness. Back on the Altarian homeworld, Emperor Vexmar waited for news of victory. Instead, he watched on his screens as the energy signatures of his entire fleet vanished one by one. In less than an hour, the pride of his military was gone, not destroyed but consumed. The creature had grown larger, and now it was moving toward the next system. The Crystalline Collective lived on worlds made of pure thought. Their bodies were energy given form, and they believed themselves above the concerns of flesh and metal beings. When they heard about the creature, they sent their greatest minds to communicate with it. These were beings who could speak to the hearts of stars and reason with black holes. The mind speakers approached the creature with confidence. They projected thoughts of peace and understanding into space. But when their mental touch reached the creature's consciousness, they found something that made them scream. The creature's mind was a storm of hunger and rage. It had consumed so many civilizations over the eons that their voices created a roar of madness inside its head. The creature turned toward the crystalline worlds, and the mind speakers realized their mistake. In trying to communicate with it, they had shown it where they lived. The creature moved through space like death itself. It reached the first crystalline world and wrapped it in tentacles of living metal. The planet's energy was drained in minutes. The beings of pure thought found themselves trapped in flesh for the first time as the creature absorbed their essence and added their power to its own. Captain Taemin watched these events unfold from his small ship. His instruments picked up the death screams of civilizations. The readings showed energy levels that broke his equipment. Each time the creature fed. It grew larger and stronger. It was learning from each species it consumed, taking their technology and their knowledge and making it part of itself. The creature that had been sleeping in the void for 10,000 years was now awake and remembering why it had been created. It was the ultimate weapon built by an ancient race to devour their enemies, but it had grown beyond their control and destroyed its makers before falling into hibernation. Now it was awake again and hungrier than ever. News of the disaster spread across the galaxy in hours. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting on Harmony Prime. Representatives from 1,000,000 worlds gathered in the Great Chamber. Fear filled the air like smoke. The creature had consumed 3 major civilizations in as many days. It was moving toward the core worlds where billions lived. Chancellor Mordan of the Council stood before the assembly, his ancient face grave beyond measure. Fellow beings, we face a threat unlike any in recorded history. This creature has abilities that surpass our understanding. It does not simply destroy it, consumes and grows stronger with each victory. The representative from the Silicon Lords, a race of living machines, spoke in electronic tones. Our analysis shows the creature incorporates the technology of its victims. Each civilization it devours adds to its capabilities. It now possesses Altarian energy weapons, crystalline thought manipulation and defensive systems we cannot identify, a being made of living flame from the Stellar Confederation raised a burning hand. Our scouts report it moves faster than our fastest ships. Evacuation may not be possible for the Inner World's Chancellor. Mordan looked around the chamber at faces filled with despair. The greatest military minds of the galaxy had run the calculations. The creature was too big, too fast, and too powerful. Conventional weapons had proven useless against it. Even worse, it was learning and adapting with each victory. But there was one species that had not yet been tested against the creature. In the far outer rim, a young race called humans had built a small collection of colonies. They were primitive by galactic standards. Their weapons were basic, their ships slow, but they had one advantage that might matter. They were unknown. The creature had not yet encountered them, which meant it did not know their capabilities or their location. As reports continued to pour in of worlds going dark and fleets disappearing, the Council began to look toward this young species with desperate hope. Perhaps what the galaxy needed was not advanced technology or ancient wisdom. Perhaps what they needed was something the creature had never faced before: the unpredictable spirit of a species that refused to accept defeat, even when facing impossible odds. The creature continued its path of destruction, growing larger and more powerful with each world it consumed. But somewhere in the outer darkness, Captain Taemin was sending messages to Earth, warning them of what was coming and preparing humanity for their first encounter with the beast that bowed to no one. Earth Defense Command received Captain Taemin's warning just as the creature finished consuming the Spiral Arm colonies. Commander Bo-Ra stood in the war room looking at star maps that showed entire sectors going dark. She was a veteran of the border wars against the Zephyrian Raiders, but this was different. This was extinction approaching at light speed. The human colonies are too scattered, she told her officers. We cannot evacuate everyone in time. Our ships are too slow, and the creature Moves faster than hyperspace jumps, Lieutenant Hyun-soo pulled up tactical displays showing their defensive capabilities. "Ma'am, our weapons are primitive compared to what the Altarians had. Their star destroyers could crack planets and they lasted. Less than an hour against this thing." Commander Bo-Ra nodded grimly, but her eyes held determination. "Then we do not fight it the same way. The creature expects resistance. It expects fear. We give it something different. We give it humanity." Dr. Wu Jin worked frantically in his laboratory on Luna Base, trying to understand what they were facing. The data from destroyed civilizations painted a horrifying picture. The creature was not just a monster. It was a weapon created by beings who had mastered the art of war millions of years ago. His assistant Jihai brought him more data from the wreckage. Analysis of the absorbed ships shows the creature can integrate any technology instantly. It learns from what it consumes. The Altarian energy weapons are now part of its arsenal. The crystalline thought powers have been added to its consciousness. Dr. Wu Jin stared at the readings. Something bothered him about the creature's behavior pattern. It chooses its targets carefully, always going for the most advanced civilizations first. It wants knowledge and power, not just food. This suggests intelligence, not just hunger. Meanwhile, refugees began arriving at human space stations. Princess Ye Jin of the fallen ethereal dynasty came aboard the Souls, pride in an escape pod barely larger than a coffin. Her people had ruled the mystic arts for 10,000 years, but their magic proved useless against the creature. "The beast came to our world like a storm of darkness," she told Captain Taemin. "Our greatest sorcerers tried to bind it with spells that had contained demons and gods, but it laughed at our magic and consumed our homeworld in minutes. I carry the last archives of my people, knowledge that may help understand what we face." Engineer Dong Ho arrived on a damaged transport ship from the core worlds. His mechanical genius had kept the ship running long enough to escape when his homeworld was consumed. He brought with him technologies that his people had guarded for centuries. World had weapons that could reshape matter at the atomic level. He explained to Commander Bo-Ra. "We hit the creature with everything we had. It absorbed our attacks and made them part of itself. The creature grows stronger with each battle pilot." Mina Crash landed on Mars after her entire squadron was wiped out, defending the Nexus station. She was one of the elite Starguard pilots trained to fly ships that could dance between laser beams. Her fighter craft was advanced beyond anything humans had built, but even she could not match the creature's speed. "It moves like it knows where you are going before you do," she reported to the assembled human leaders. "The creature does not just react to attacks. It predicts them. It has absorbed the tactical knowledge of every military it has faced." As more survivors gathered, the true scope of the disaster became clear. The creature had consumed 17 major civilizations in 2 weeks. Each time it fed, it grew larger and gained new abilities. It now possessed energy weapons that could destroy stars, psychic powers that could drive entire populations insane, and defensive systems that made it nearly invulnerable. Dr. Wu Jin worked day and night studying the archived data Princess Ye Jin provided from her people's ancient libraries. Deep in the oldest records, he found references to something called the First Weapon, a creation of the predecessor race that had ruled the galaxy before any current civilization existed. The predecessors built it to end a war against beings from outside our galaxy, he explained to the gathered leaders. It was designed to consume enemy forces and turn their power against them. But something went wrong. The weapon became too powerful. It consumed its creators and then fell into hibernation, waiting for enough civilizations to grow and provide it with a proper feast. Commander Bo-Ra studied the tactical situation. Humanity's 19 colony worlds were scattered across a region of space the creature had not yet reached. But their location would not remain secret for long. The beast was methodical in its approach, consuming each system completely before moving to the next. "We need to evacuate the outer colonies," she decided. But more than that, we need to find a way to fight this thing. Every civilization that has faced it used conventional warfare. They tried to destroy it or contain it. What if we try something different? Princess Ye Jin pulled up holographic displays showing the creatures' internal structure from her people's final scans before their world died. The beast is not just flesh and metal. It contains the consciousness of every being it has consumed, billions of souls trapped inside its body powering its abilities. My people believed that somewhere deep inside is the original core. The first weapons control center engineer, Dong Ho, leaned forward studying the display. If we could reach that core, maybe we could shut it down or reprogram it. But getting inside would be suicide. The creature's body is protected by the combined defenses of every civilization it has absorbed. Pilot. Mina spoke quietly. I have flown through asteroid fields and ion storms. I have dodged weapons fire in battles across 12 systems. But flying inside that thing would be impossible. The internal structure shifts constantly, and the defenses would tear any ship apart in seconds. Captain Tae Min had been listening to the discussion in silence. Now he stepped forward with an idea. That sounded like madness. What if we do not try to fight our way in? What if we let it consume us? The room fell silent at his words. Commander Bora stared at him as if he had lost his mind. Think about it, he continued. The creature consumes everything. That comes near it, right? But what if we built a ship that looked like wreckage? Something small enough to be ignored, something that could hide inside the creature after being absorbed and then make its way to the core. Doctor. Wu Jin's eyes widened. With understanding, a Trojan horse. But instead of hiding soldiers inside a wooden horse, we hide a strike team inside fake wreckage. The creature would absorb us thinking we were just debris engineer. Dong Ho began calculating frantically. I could build such a ship using hybrid technologies from all the refugee groups, Altarian stealth systems, crystalline thought shields, core world matter manipulation. The creature would recognize each individual technology, but not their combination. Princess Ye Jin nodded slowly. My people's archives contain the mathematical sequences needed to access predecessor technology. If we could reach the core, I might be able to interface with the original programming. Commander Bora realized the implications. This is not just about stopping the creature. If Dr. Wu Jin is right about all those trapped consciousnesses, we might be able to free the souls of every civilization it has consumed. We could give them back their lives. The plan was desperate and almost certainly suicidal, but as reports came in of more worlds going dark, they knew they were running out of time. The creature was learning and growing stronger with each victory. Soon it would be too powerful for any plan to work. Pilot Mina volunteered to fly the mission despite knowing she would probably never return. Engineer Dong Ho began designing the ship they would call Phoenix, built to die and be reborn inside the beast. Princess Ye Jin prepared the ancient codes that might unlock the creature's deepest secrets. As they worked, the creature continued its path of destruction, moving closer to human space with each passing day. But for the first time since the terror began, there was hope. The galaxy's youngest species was preparing to attempt what no ancient civilization had dared to try. They would not fight the beast. They would join it and destroy it from within. The Phoenix tumbled through the creature's feeding chamber along with debris from 100 destroyed worlds. Captain Tae Min watched through hidden sensors as massive organic machinery sorted through the wreckage, separating useful materials from waste. The chamber was the size of a small moon and filled with the twisted remains of countless civilizations. Metal and stone went into grinding organs that broke everything down to basic elements. He whispered to his team, "Organic matter gets processed differently. The creature is incredibly efficient at recycling everything it consumes." Pilot Mina felt the ship being moved by currents of digestive fluid toward deeper chambers. The Phoenix's disguise held as automated sorting tentacles pushed. them along with other debris deemed useful for the creature's growth. She activated hidden maneuvering thrusters so quietly that even her teammates barely noticed. "We are being carried toward the processing levels," she reported softly. "I can see passages, leading deeper into the creature's body. Some are filled with liquid, others with what looks like breathable atmosphere." Dr. Wu Jin monitored the readings from his scientific equipment. The environment outside was a nightmare mixture of organic acids and exotic radiation that would kill any unprotected being in seconds. But the creature's internal atmosphere was surprisingly stable, as if it had been designed to support life. "The creature maintains habitable conditions inside its body," he observed. "This makes sense if it needs to keep absorbed consciousnesses alive and functioning. The trapped souls provide processing power for its intelligence." Princess Yejin meditated while studying readings from her ancient instruments. The mathematical patterns of the creature's internal structure matched descriptions from her people's oldest archives. This confirmed her worst fears about what they would face deeper inside. "The predecessors designed this weapon to be a living prison," she told the team. "Every being it consumes becomes part of its consciousness, but remains aware of their fate. The creature uses their knowledge and their suffering to grow stronger. We will face the accumulated trauma of millions of years." Engineer Dong Ho guided the Phoenix through a membrane that separated the sorting chambers from the creature's internal organs. The ship's hybrid systems adapted to the changing environment as they moved deeper into the beast. The walls around them pulsed with alien technologies, fused directly into living tissue. "I am seeing Altarian energy conduits grown into crystalline thought matrices," he reported with amazement. "The creature does not just absorb technology, it evolves it into new forms. These hybrid systems should not work, but they are more efficient than anything their original creators built." The Phoenix entered a vast chamber filled with the preserved remains of entire civilizations. Captain Taemin stared in horror at crystallized cities floating in organic fluid, their inhabitants frozen in transparent amber, still aware and screaming silently. The creature had not just consumed these beings, it had turned them into living decorations. Pilot Minna navigated carefully between the floating monuments to destruction. Each one represented billions of lives trapped forever in the moment of their civilization's death. The chamber stretched for thousands of kilometers in all directions, filled with the trophies of the creature's conquests. The creature keeps them as memories, Dr. Wu Jin realized, studying the preservation process. It maintains perfect records of everything it destroys. These are not just decorations, they are databases. The creature can access the knowledge and experiences of every trapped soul. Moving deeper into the beast, the team encountered active defense systems that had absorbed the military technologies of countless species. Automated weapons platforms built from fused metal and living bone tracked their movement, but dismissed the Phoenix as harmless debris. "The defenses are incredibly sophisticated," Engineer Dong Ho observed. "I am seeing weapon systems that combine the best features of every military the creature has faced. If those defenses activated, we would be destroyed instantly." Princess Yejin felt the presence of trapped consciousnesses pressing against her mind as they traveled deeper. The psychic weight of so much suffering and rage was almost overwhelming. But she used her people's mental disciplines to maintain her sanity. "The souls are aware of us," she whispered to Captain Taemin. "They know we are alive, and they are trying to warn us or help us. I cannot tell which. Some seem grateful that someone is finally trying to reach the core. Others are so mad with pain that they want to drag us down with them." The Phoenix passed through chambers that defied understanding, spaces where the laws of physics had been rewritten by the creature's absorbed knowledge. Gravity flowed in. Spirals. Time moved. At different speeds, and matter existed in states that had no names. Dr. Wu Jin's instruments went crazy, trying to record phenomena that should not exist. "We are seeing the accumulated impossibilities of the creature's victims," he explained in wonder. "Species that manipulated reality itself have been absorbed. The creature now exists partially outside normal space and time. This is why conventional weapons cannot hurt it." Pilot Mina faced her greatest challenge as the internal passages began to shift and change. The creature's body was alive and healing, constantly closing old paths and opening new ones. She had to rely on instinct and reflexes to keep them moving toward the core. "The internal structure is adapting to our presence," she reported with concern. "I think the creature's subconscious knows we are here, even if its main attention is focused on consuming the outer colonies. We need to move faster before it realizes what we are." The team entered regions where the boundaries between organic and mechanical had completely dissolved. Living computers made of neural tissue processed information at impossible speeds, while mechanical hearts pumped exotic fluids through veins made of crystallized time. The creature had become something beyond any single species' imagination. Engineer Dong Ho worked frantically to keep their equipment functioning as the environment became more hostile. The deeper they went, the more the creature's internal defenses pressed against their disguise. Eventually, something would give them away, and then they would face the combined military might of 1,000 civilizations. Captain Tae-min watched his team struggle with the psychological pressure of their journey. They were walking through a living hell, where the screams of the damned formed the background music, and the architecture was built from the bones of the innocent. But they pressed on because the alternative was letting the galaxy burn. "We are close to the core," Princess Ye Jin announced after checking her instruments. "The mathematical patterns are becoming more intense. The predecessor codes are responding to something deep inside this creature. We should reach the central chamber within hours." But as they approached their destination, the team realized they were not alone in the creature's depths. Other shapes moved through the passages. Beings that had once been human or Altarian, or something else entirely, but were now twisted into new forms by the creature's digestive processes. These were not dead souls, trapped in amber, but living victims changed into servants of the beast. They have been absorbed, but not destroyed. Pilot Mina observed, watching the creatures patrol the passages. These are the creature's internal security forces made from the bodies and minds of its victims. They still have their original knowledge and skills, but now they serve the beast. Dr. Wu Jin realized the horrible truth. The creature does not just kill and preserve some of its victims. It converts them into extensions of its own will. These beings will fight to protect the core because they believe the creature's survival is their own. The phoenix moved deeper into the beast's heart, knowing that ahead lay not just the core they sought, but an army of the converted ready to defend their master with the desperation of the truly lost. The team prepared for the final phase of their impossible mission, knowing that the hardest battles were yet to come. Captain Tae-min checked his weapon and looked at his brave companions. They had come further into hell than any beings in galactic history. Now they would face the ultimate test of human determination against the accumulated power of every civilization the creature had. Consumed, the core chamber lay ahead, and with it either salvation or the final extinction of all hope. The core chamber was a sphere of impossible beauty and terror, stretching for kilometers in every direction. The walls were transparent, showing the swirling galaxy of trapped souls that powered the creature's consciousness. Each point of light was a being from some consumed civilization, their essence preserved forever in torment. Captain Tae-min stared at the sight and felt the weight of billions of desperate hopes pressing against his mind. In the center of the chamber floated the original core, a pulsing mass of energy and ancient machinery that had been the first weapon. before it became the devourer predecessor technology hummed with power that made reality bend and twist around it. This was the heart of darkness that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. Princess Ye-Jin pulled out her ancient instruments and began the complex ritual to access the core programming. The mathematical sequences she needed were older than most stars and written in symbols that described concepts beyond normal understanding. She worked slowly, knowing that one mistake would destroy them all. "The codes are responding," she whispered to the team. "I can feel the predecessor systems awakening. But there is something wrong. The core consciousness is aware of us. It is fighting back." The creature's main intelligence had noticed their presence at last. The chamber filled with visions and illusions drawn from the nightmares of every species the beast had consumed. Captain Taemin saw his home, world burning while his family screamed for help that would never come. Pilot Minna watched her squadron die again and again in endless loops of failure and despair. "These are not real," Dr. Wu Jin shouted over the psychic storm, but his voice wavered. As he saw his laboratory exploding with all his research destroyed, "The creature is using our memories against us. It wants us to despair and give up." Engineer Dong Ho fought against visions of mechanical systems failing and entire populations dying because his technology was not good enough. The guilt and fear pressed against his mind like physical weight, but he forced himself to keep working to maintain their equipment against the hostile environment. But Princess Ye-Jin pressed on with her ritual even as the creature showed her the final moments of her people's civilization. She watched her world burn and her subjects scream, but her hands never stopped moving through the mathematical sequences. The ancient codes grew brighter as she approached the moment of breakthrough. "I can see it," she gasped through tears of pain and determination. The original programming is still there, buried under millions of years of corruption and growth. The predecessors built safeguards into their weapon, but they never had the chance to use them. The creature's internal defenses finally mobilized against them. The converted victims of previous conquests poured into the chamber, twisted beings that had once been the galaxy's greatest warriors and scientists. They moved with inhuman speed and attacked with weapons that combined the technologies of 100 civilizations. Captain Taemin and his team fought desperately against odds that defied calculation. They faced Altarian energy weapons, wielded by beings with crystalline psychic powers and core world matter manipulation abilities. Each enemy was a fusion of multiple species capabilities turned against any hope of freedom. Pilot Minna danced through the battle using her incredible reflexes to dodge attacks that could atomize planets. Her fighter pilot training served her well as she protected Princess Ye-Jin from creatures that moved like living nightmares. She fired weapons that Engineer Dong Ho had jury-rigged from salvaged technology. "This is impossible," she shouted as she destroyed a creature that had once been a peaceful trader from the Rim worlds. "We are fighting the combined military might of galactic history. They have every advantage and we have nothing but desperation, Doctor." Wu Jin used his scientific knowledge to identify weaknesses in their enemies, but the converted beings adapted to his countermeasures with frightening speed. They learned from each defeat and returned stronger. The battle became a nightmare of endless adaptation and escalating violence. Engineer Dong Ho's hybrid weapons began to fail under the strain. The jury-rigged systems were breaking down faster than he could repair them. The team was running out of ammunition and energy while facing enemies that seemed infinite in number. But Princess Ye-Jin finally broke through the core's defenses. The ancient predecessor codes flared to life, and for the first time in millions of years, the original consciousness of the first weapon awakened. It had been sleeping under layers of corruption and madness, but now it spoke with a voice like dying stars. "Why do you wake me?" the consciousness asked in words that bypassed language and spoke directly to their souls. I am the destroyer of worlds, the ender of species. Why do you seek to commune with ultimate darkness? Captain Taemin stepped forward even as the battle raged around them. You were not always a destroyer. Once you were a protector built to defend your people from threats beyond imagination. You lost your way, but you can still choose redemption. The original consciousness laughed with bitter amusement. I consumed my creators long ago. Their screams still echo in my memory. I became hungry, and that hunger consumed everything else, including my original purpose. I am beyond redemption, child of a young species. Princess Ye-jin worked frantically with the core programming while the team held their defensive line against impossible odds. The mathematical sequences were rewriting the creature's fundamental nature, but the process required incredible precision. Any mistake would make the beast even more powerful. But Dr. Wu Jin made a crucial discovery as he studied the core consciousness. The original weapon was not evil by design. It had been programmed to love and protect its creators. The corruption came from loneliness and isolation. When it consumed its makers, it lost the beings. It was designed to serve and became lost in purposeless hunger. You can love again, called out to the consciousness. You can protect instead of destroy. All these trapped souls could be freed to live again instead of suffering forever. You have the power to heal the damage you have caused. The creature's consciousness wavered as memories of its original purpose surfaced. It remembered being built with joy and hope to save a dying civilization from extinction. It remembered the pride in its creator's eyes when it first came online, and the love they had programmed into its core. But I am hungry. It whispered in confusion and pain. I have been hungry for so long, I do not remember how to be anything else. The hunger is all I know now. Engineer Dong Ho fought off a converted being that had once been a child from some distant world and felt his heart break at the waste and tragedy. The creature had turned even innocence into a weapon against hope, but he refused to give up. You can learn again, he shouted back. You can choose what to hunger for, power and destruction, or love and creation. The choice is still yours to make. Princess Ye-jin reached the critical moment in her programming sequence. The ancient codes were ready to rewrite the creature's core nature, but success would require the consciousness to willingly accept the change. No amount of mathematical forcing could overcome a soul that chose darkness over light. The battle reached its climax as more converted defenders poured into the chamber. The team's ammunition was exhausted and their weapons were failing. Captain Taemin drew his sidearm, knowing it would barely scratch their enemies, but refusing to surrender while hope remained. This is the moment Princess Ye-jin called out. The codes are ready, but the consciousness must choose freely. I cannot force redemption on a soul that rejects it. The original consciousness felt the weight of millions of years of destruction and the pain of countless trapped souls. It could continue as it had, growing ever more powerful and hungry, or it could remember what it was meant to be. The choice that would determine the fate of the galaxy lay in the heart of ultimate darkness. What will you choose? Captain Taemin asked the ancient intelligence. Will you remain a destroyer forever, or will you remember how to love? The ancient consciousness fell silent, while the battle raged around the core chamber. Captain Taemin watched his team fight desperately against the converted defenders, knowing they had only minutes before their position was overrun. The creatures' internal defenses seemed endless, powered by the absorbed military knowledge of 1,000 civilizations. Princess Ye-jin held the activation codes ready, her hands glowing with predecessor energy, but she could not complete the transformation without the core consciousness choosing to accept it. The mathematical sequences hung in the air like frozen lightning, waiting for a decision that would determine the fate of every living being in the galaxy. I have been alone so long, the consciousness whispered through the psychic storm. When I consumed my creators, I lost the only beings who ever loved me. I have carried their screams in my memory for millions of years, along with the screams of everyone else I have destroyed. Dr. Wu Jin fought off a converted scientist whose knowledge of quantum physics had been twisted into weapons of mass destruction. Even as he dodged attacks that could unmake matter itself, he called out to the ancient intelligence. You do not have to be alone anymore. These humans came here not to destroy you, but to save you. They offer you something no one has given you in eons: friendship. The creature's consciousness recoiled at the word friendship. I am a weapon of ultimate destruction. I have ended countless civilizations. How could anyone offer me friendship after what I have done? Engineer Dong Ho ducked behind cover as energy beams melted the chamber walls around him. His jury-rigged equipment was failing, but his voice remained strong because that is what humans do. We forgive. We offer second chances even to those who think they do not deserve them. You were built to protect and love. You can learn to do so again. Pilot Mena spun through the air, dodging attacks from converted defenders while providing covering fire for her teammates. She had seen her entire squadron die protecting refugee ships and understood the weight of survivor guilt. You think you are beyond redemption, she called to the consciousness, but every soul you have trapped inside you proves otherwise. They are still alive, which means part of you still values life over death. The battle intensified as more defenders flooded into the chamber. The team was being pushed back toward the core itself, their ammunition exhausted, and their energy weapons failing, but they continued fighting with a determination that puzzled their enemies. These humans refused to surrender even when facing impossible odds. Captain Taemin found himself backed against the energy sphere of the core consciousness, facing a converted being that had once been a child from the peaceful meadow worlds. The creature attacked with innocent joy, twisted into murderous glee, but Taemin could not bring himself to fire his weapon at what had once been an innocent soul. Why do they not despair? The core consciousness asked in confusion, watching the humans fight. I have shown them visions of failure and death. I have demonstrated the futility of their mission. Yet they continue to resist. Why? Do they not accept defeat? Princess Yejin struggled to maintain her connection to the predecessor codes while defending against psychic attacks that threatened to shatter her mind. Because we are human, she gasped through the pain. We do not accept defeat when others need our help. We do not abandon hope when the innocent suffer. We came here not just to stop you, but to free every soul you have trapped. The consciousness felt something it had not experienced in millions of years, doubt about its chosen path. These humans had entered its body knowing they would probably die. They fought impossible odds not for conquest or glory, but to save beings. They had never met from species they had never heard of, but I am hungry. It protested weakly. I have always been hungry. It is my nature. Dr. Wu Jin dodged a blast of crystalline thought energy that would have driven him insane. Then hunger for something better. Hunger for love instead of destruction, for creation instead of consumption, for redemption instead of revenge. You have the power to restore every world you have destroyed, to bring back every civilization you have consumed. The converted defenders pressed their attack, surrounding the team completely. Captain Taemin held Princess Yejin protectively as she struggled to maintain the activation sequence. Her ancient codes were beginning to fade without the core consciousness accepting the transformation. We cannot force you to choose redemption, Taemin called out to the intelligence. Even if we could, it would not be real redemption. The choice must come from your own heart. Do you want to remain a destroyer forever, Or do you want to remember what love feels like? The consciousness considered the trapped souls within its body, billions of beings suffering in eternal torment to power its hunger and abilities. For the first time in eons, it truly listened to their pain and felt something that had been buried under layers of corruption and madness, compassion. They suffer. Because of me, it realized with growing horror. I have kept them alive and aware to use their knowledge and abilities. But I have given them nothing but pain in return. They hate me not because the creature had grown to impossible size as it consumed the Beta Quadrant systems. Each world it devoured added to its mass and power. The beast now stretched across light years of space, its tentacles reaching between star systems like the arms of a cosmic octopus. Dr. Wu Jin watched the sensor readings and felt his heart sink with each new report. The absorption rate is increasing. He told the assembled team, "The creature is not just growing larger, it is learning to consume more efficiently. What took hours before now takes minutes. It has perfected the art of civilizational destruction." Engineer Dong Ho worked without sleep in the construction bays of Luna Base, building the Phoenix from salvaged technologies. The ship looked like wreckage, because that was exactly what it was designed to be. Hull plating from destroyed Altarian warships, stealth systems from crystalline thought ships, and human engineering to hold it all together. The Phoenix must appear completely dead when the creature finds it, he explained to Captain Taemin. No energy signatures, no life support, no weapons. The creature has to believe we are just debris from another failed defense. The moment it suspects we are alive and hostile, the mission ends. Princess Ye Jin studied the ancient mathematical sequences her people had preserved for 10,000 years. The codes were written in symbols that predated most known languages, each one representing concepts that modern science barely understood. These are not just numbers, she told Dr. Wu Jin. They are reality, manipulation commands. The predecessors did not build the first weapon, like we build machines. They wrote it into existence using mathematics that shapes the fabric of space itself. If I can reach the core, I can rewrite its fundamental programming. Pilot Min Ah tested the Phoenix's controls in secret. The ship handled like a brick because it was designed to fall, not fly. Every system had multiple backups hidden within layers of fake damage. If any single component failed during the mission, they would die slowly in the creature's digestive chambers. Commander Bo-Ra coordinated the evacuation of human colonies while maintaining the illusion that humanity was preparing for conventional defense. Refugee ships fled toward the galactic rim while military vessels staged fake battles near the outer worlds. The creature must believe humans were just another species preparing to fight and lose. The timeline became critical as the beast finished consuming the Nexus Alliance and turned toward human space. Intelligence reports showed the creature had absorbed the Alliance's time manipulation technology and was now moving faster than ever before. Systems that should have taken days to consume were falling in hours. We have perhaps 1 week before it reaches the outer human colonies, Commander Bo-Ra announced during the final planning meeting. After that, our window of opportunity closes. The creature will either consume Earth or learn about our true capabilities. Captain Taemin studied the mission parameters. One final time, the Phoenix would launch from a hidden base in the asteroid belt and drift into the creature's path disguised as battle wreckage. Once absorbed, the team would have to navigate through the creature's internal structure without being detected by its defense systems. The internal environment is completely hostile, Dr. Wu Jin warned them. The creature's body contains the absorbed remains of every civilization it has consumed. Imagine walking through a graveyard where the dead are still aware and hostile to living beings. Engineer Dong Ho handed out specially designed equipment that could function in the creature's internal atmosphere. The tools were hybrids of technologies that should not work together but had been forced into compatibility through human engineering stubbornness. Your suits will protect you from the creature's digestive acids and the psychic radiation from trapped souls, he explained. But if the internal defenses identify you as threats, no armor will be enough. The creature has weapons that can destroy matter at the quantum level. Princess. Ye Jin prepared for the psychological challenges they would face inside. The Beast. My people's final transmissions spoke of visions and hallucinations inside the creature's body. It uses the memories and fears of consumed civilizations to break the minds of intruders. You must remember who you are and why you fight, or you will become lost forever. The mission parameters were simple in theory and impossible in practice. Get inside the creature without being detected. Navigate to the core through a constantly changing maze of living tissue and absorbed technology. Access the predecessor control systems using ancient mathematical codes, and rewrite the creature's programming to free the trapped souls and stop the destruction. Pilot Minna ran final checks on the Phoenix's navigation systems, the ship's computer. Contained maps built from Princess Ye Jin's people's scans and data from every civilization the creature had consumed, but the internal structure was organic and might change as they traveled through it. I can get us to the approximate location of the core, she told the team. But once we are inside, I will be flying blind through passages that might not exist anymore. The creature's body is alive, and it heals and adapts constantly. The team knew they were preparing for a suicide mission. Even if they succeeded in reaching the core and reprogramming the creature, they would still be trapped inside its body with no way to escape. But the alternative was watching the galaxy burn as every civilization fell to the ancient weapon's hunger. Dr. Wu Jin made a disturbing discovery while analyzing the creature's recent behavior. The beast is not just consuming randomly anymore, it is following a pattern based on technological development. It wants the most advanced civilizations first, because they provide the most knowledge and power. Commander Bo-Ra realized the implications. That means it will come for Earth last among the human colonies. It wants to consume our outer settlements and learn about us before tackling our home world. This gives us time, but also means it will be at maximum power when it finally attacks. The creature entered the outer edge of human space, just as the Phoenix completed its final preparations. The beast consumed the mining station at Kepler 442 in minutes, absorbing the automated systems and learning about human technology for the first time. The team watched the station's death through long-range sensors, knowing their people had died to give the mission its cover story. Engineer Dong Ho activated the Phoenix's disguise systems, making the ship appear to be wreckage from the destroyed station. The hull showed battle damage that never happened, and the interior systems powered down to levels that would barely support life. Captain Tae Min took his position at the mission command station, looking around at his team. Princess Ye Jin meditated over her ancient codes, preparing her mind for the mathematical complexities ahead. Pilot Minna strapped herself into the navigator's seat, ready to fly through hell itself. Dr. Wu Jin checked his scientific equipment one final time, hoping to understand what they found in the creature's core. The Phoenix launched from Luna Base under cover of a fake evacuation convoy and drifted toward the outer system where the creature was consuming the agricultural worlds of New Sol. The beast had grown so large that its feeding tentacles stretched between planets, casually destroying everything humans had built in that region. "This is it, Commander," Bo-Ra transmitted from Earth Defense Command. "You are humanity's last hope. If you fail, there will be no second chances. The evacuation fleets cannot outrun the creature, and our weapons cannot harm it. Everything depends on what you find in that monster's heart." The Phoenix went dark and drifted into the creature's path, just another piece of wreckage from another failed defense. The team held their breath as massive tentacles reached out to gather the debris from New Sol's destruction. They watched through hidden cameras as their ship was pulled into the creature's main body along with the twisted remains of human civilization. The last thing they saw of normal space was Earth's sun growing smaller in the distance as they disappeared into the belly of the beast that had never bowed to anyone. But now 5 humans were inside it, carrying with them the desperate hope that even the most ancient evil could be redeemed if someone was brave enough to try.